From the outside it looked like a dream proposal. A tall, polite young man. A charming, wealthy family. A quiet wedding ceremony that had everyone in our community whispering about how lucky I was. But if only they knew. If only I had known. I was tricked. Deceived. Sold a lie wrapped in gold ribbons and soft words. Because behind the smiles, the grand house, the expensive gifts, was a secret. Secret they knew. But I didn't. And the moment I found out, it was already too late. This is the story of how I was lured into marrying a man who was dying. A man whose family hid the truth, just to give him the illusion of a normal life. A man whose love felt like a trap. And how I nearly lost myself in a marriage that was never meant to be real. My name is Rachel. I was 22 when I met Daniel. I had just finished university and moved back in with my mother and 2 younger sisters. Life wasn't easy, but we managed. My mother was a tailor and I helped her with deliveries while job hunting. I wasn't looking for love. Honestly, I wasn't even looking for friendship. I just wanted to find a stable job, help my family, and get my life on track. Daniel came into my life on an ordinary Thursday. I had gone to drop off a dress for one of our richer clients in town. Their gate was enormous. Their house. The kind you only see in magazines. I was sweating in the afternoon sun, trying not to feel out of place, when a black SUV pulled into the compound. Out stepped Daniel. He wasn't flashy or loud. He wore a simple button-up shirt and jeans. But he had this presence. Confident without being arrogant. He offered to help me carry the bags of fabric from the car, which honestly caught me off guard. Rich people don't usually help girls like me carry anything. We spoke briefly, exchanged names. He smiled. I left thinking nothing of it. But the next day I got a call from the same household. Apparently his mother wanted more clothes made. And that's how it began. Each visit brought more interaction with Daniel. First a smile, then a short chat, then longer talks that turned into walks around their garden. He asked questions, real ones. About my dreams. My family. My struggles. And he listened. He listened like my voice mattered. Within 3 weeks he asked me to dinner. I refused at first. Then gave in. He was sweet. Patient. He made me laugh. He never pushed too hard, but always just enough. Felt natural. But things moved fast after that. Too fast. His parents loved me. Especially his mother. She called me daughter before he even called me girlfriend. They started inviting my family over. They talked about marriage casually like it was obvious. At first I thought it was just rich people being dramatic. But then Daniel proposed. And everything went quiet in my head. I didn't know what to say. It was too soon. Barely 3 months of knowing him. But my mother was already crying tears of joy, and my sisters were looking at me like I had won the lottery. His parents promised to take care of everything. The venue, the house, the honeymoon. All I had to do was say yes. I said yes. I still don't know why. Maybe I was overwhelmed. Maybe I was scared of saying no. Maybe I just wanted to believe someone had finally chosen me for something good. But looking back, that yes was the beginning of my undoing. The wedding was rushed. I noticed things, small things, that should have warned me. Daniel seemed tired all the time. He'd go quiet suddenly and disappear for hours. He once fainted in the middle of our engagement photo shoot and brushed it off as low blood sugar. His mother always had some quick excuse for him. Oh, he's just stressed. He hasn't been sleeping. It's nothing serious. I asked questions. I wasn't stupid. But every time I asked Daniel, he'd change the topic, kiss my forehead and say, "I'm fine, babe. Just tired. I'm lucky to have you." I wanted to believe him. Until the wedding night. We didn't travel. His parents said he had urgent business to attend to the next day, so we stayed in their guest house. I was nervous. New bride nerves, I guess. But when he walked into the room, he looked pale. Sweating. Like he had run a marathon. He collapsed. Right there in front of me. They rushed him to a private hospital. His parents were frantic but also oddly calm. Like this wasn't new to them. Like this was expected. And that's when I knew something was wrong. They didn't let me see him for 3 days. Said he needed rest. Said it wasn't serious. I begged. I cried. I threatened. And finally a nurse took pity on me. She pulled me aside and said, "I thought you knew. Your husband has been battling stage 4 lymphoma for over 2 years now. He's dying." My heart stopped. Stage 4. Cancer. Terminal. I couldn't breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in. I confronted his mother. She looked me in the eye and said, "We didn't tell you because we knew you wouldn't stay. We needed you to love him, to make his last days happy, and then maybe even bear a child for him before he passes, so our lineage could continue." I felt like my life had been stolen. I sat in the hospital hallway for hours after hearing the truth. Not crying. Not moving. Just frozen. I kept replaying every moment we shared. The smiles. The sweet words. The way his family rushed us into marriage. It all made sense now. They knew. All of them knew. Except me. And worse, they hadn't just hidden it. They used me. I was supposed to be his final adventure. His emotional cushion. His happy ending. But what about me? What about the life I thought I was building? The future I pictured with a man I was still trying to fall in love with? When Daniel woke up, I didn't go in immediately. I needed time. Time to understand what I felt. Anger, confusion, grief, betrayal. It was all of it. All at once. When I finally walked into the room, he smiled. That weak, tired smile that once made my heart flutter. But this time it made my chest tighten. "You found out," he said softly. I nodded. I didn't speak. "I wanted to tell you," he added. "So many times. But I didn't want you to look at me like a patient. I wanted to be loved as a man, not pitted like a sick boy." Tears fell down his cheeks. And for a second I saw it, the fear in his eyes. He wasn't just trying to trick me. He was desperate. Desperate for normalcy. Desperate to love. Desperate to not die alone. And somehow, that hurt too. Because it meant I wasn't chosen for love. I was chosen for comfort. For convenience. For closure. The next few weeks were blurry. I moved into his family home. Not because I wanted to, but because it felt wrong to leave him right after the truth came out. What would people say? That I abandoned my dying husband? His parents made it seem like nothing had happened. His mother started calling me their miracle. She'd say things like, "You give him strength." Or, "See how much better he's doing now that you're around." It was sickening. I didn't even know who I was anymore. Every night I'd lie beside him, staring at the ceiling, wondering what my life could have been if they had just been honest. If they had given me the choice to say yes or no. I wasn't ready to be a widow. I wasn't ready to become a nurse. I wasn't ready to carry the emotional weight of a man clinging to life by a thread. I was 22, and my life was slipping away. Then the doctors gave him a window, 6 months. That was it. His cancer was aggressive. Treatments weren't working anymore. They said we could try a clinical trial, but even that was a long shot. Daniel didn't want to fight anymore. "I just want to spend my last days in peace," he told me. "With you." And those words broke me. Because no matter how much I wanted to walk away, how much I wanted to scream and run and undo it all, I couldn't. Not when he looked at me like that. Not when he still smiled every time I walked into the room. So I stayed. I cooked for him. I read to him. I sat beside him when the pain came. I held him when he cried. And slowly something strange happened. I began to care. Not because I was forced to, but because deep inside I saw the boy behind the lie. He was scared. Just like me. And somehow we were both trapped in a story neither of us fully wrote. But not everything was beautiful. One day I overheard his mother talking to a guest in the sitting room. "He sleeps better now that he's married. Honestly, we never thought he'd even find someone before the end." We didn't tell her at first, of course. If we had, she would have run. But God works in mysterious ways. Maybe we can even still convince her to have a child for him. I stood there, hidden behind the hallway wall, shaking. They were still justifying it. Still pretending like it was okay. Still treating me like a volunteer project. Not a human being with dreams, feelings, and the right to choose. That night I packed a bag. I left a letter beside his pillow. Not angry. Not bitter. Just honest. Daniel. I tried. I really did. And I care about you. But I didn't choose this life. It was chosen for me. And that's something I'll never forget. I need time. Time to heal from the truth. Time to figure out who I am outside of your sickness. I don't hate you. But I can't lose myself trying to save you. Please forgive me. Rachel. By the time the morning sun peeked through the windows of the family home, I was long gone. I didn't go back to my apartment. I couldn't face the neighbors or answer the calls that were already flooding my phone. I stayed with a friend, Someone who didn't ask too many questions but offered a warm meal in silence. The news spread like wildfire. People began whispering. She left him when he needed her the most. What kind of woman walks out on her dying husband? Ungrateful girl. That family gave her everything. But no one ever said, why did she have to marry him in the first place? Why did his family hide the truth? Why didn't she get to choose? And that's what hurt the most. People judged what they saw, not what they didn't know. Not the lies. Not the manipulation. Not the slow loss of my own dreams while trying to uphold someone else's. But even with all the noise, I stayed quiet. I didn't post on social media. I didn't defend myself. Because part of me still wondered. Was I a bad person for leaving? 3 weeks after I left, I received a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A handwritten letter. From Daniel. It was shaky, like his hands had grown too tired to hold a pen for long. But every word felt intentional. Heavy. Meant to be read slowly. Asterisk, Rachel. I understand why you left. I truly do. I asked you to give me honesty in the short time I had left. And yet, I was the one who began it with a lie. That's something I'll carry with me until the end. But if you read nothing else, please read this. I loved you. Even when I knew I didn't deserve your love. And I was grateful. For every meal. Every night you sat beside me. Every time you hid your tears and smiled instead. You gave me the closest thing to normal that I ever had. And I am sorry. Deeply sorry, that you had to carry the weight of my illness without your consent. My parents, they meant well in their own twisted way. But they failed to see you as a person. They saw you as an opportunity. And that was never fair. If I had more time, I would have spent it making it right. If I had more strength, I would have fought harder to protect you from them. But I have neither. What I do have is peace. And that peace came from you. So go. Live fully. Love freely. Choose boldly. I don't want to be your shadow. I want to be your lesson. Thank you for everything. Daniel asterisk. I read that letter maybe 100 times. Cried until my chest ached. Not just for him, but for the version of me that had slowly disappeared over the last year. For the girl who kept sacrificing herself just to be understood. For the woman I never got to fully become. That letter didn't erase the past, but it gave me something I never expected. Permission to move forward. Daniel passed away 2 months later. His parents didn't invite me to the funeral. And that was okay. They had used me in life. They didn't deserve me in his death. Instead, I did something small. Just for myself. I took the letter, pressed it between the pages of my journal, and wrote a new entry underneath. I wasn't his happy ending. I was his peace. But no. I will become my own. And from that moment on, I started rebuilding. Slowly. Quietly. One choice at a time. I went back to school. I moved to a new city. I started therapy. I smiled again. I danced at weddings. I learned to say no without guilt. And eventually, I even fell in love again. But this time I chose it. Not out of pity. Not out of pressure. But out of freedom. So, if you're listening to this story wondering how someone could walk away from a dying man, ask instead. What kind of world makes a woman carry a lie she never agreed to hold? This wasn't just a love story. This was a survival story. A story about choosing yourself, even when the world calls you selfish for it. Because sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is walk away from what breaks her, even if everyone else calls it love.